My hope had been that on that first day I would make it out of England and through to the Scottish borders. In the event I did better than I'd hoped. I made it clear through to Glasgow before nightfall and on a little further to Dumbarton. I stopped off for a bag of chips and then walked to the edge of town to look for a suitable spot to wait. But there was nothing doing. There was very little traffic, and people are reluctant to pick you up late in the day. Eventually, to stave off boredom, I decided to start walking. Fewer and fewer cars were passing now, and hitching while walking doesn't usually work. Much of the time you're not in a place where drivers can get a good enough look at you to make up their minds before it's too late to stop. I walked for 2 or 3 hours until I was far out in the countryside, nothing but fields and trees all around. It was dark and there was no traffic. It was time to start looking for a place to sleep. Then I saw the mattress at the side of the road. It seemed almost new, as if it had fallen off the back of a lorry rather than having been fly-tipped. A mattress in the middle of nowhere, just as I was thinking about settling down somewhere for the night. It seemed too good to be true. Over the roadside ditch and the barbed wire fence, excuse me. Over the roadside ditch and the barbed wire fence was a little copse of oak trees at the edge of a field. So I tossed the mattress across the fence and clambered over after it. I could just make out a cow far away across the field, so I checked the ground for cow pats. It seemed to be clear, so I positioned the mattress close to the trunk of a big old oak, where I would get as much shelter as possible if it started to rain. Then I unrolled my sleeping bag and went to sleep, thinking myself lucky. At some point in the night, I woke to a noise, a kind of snorting. I sat up in my sleeping bag. It looked as though a cow had wandered over to inspect me. "Shoo," I said. It looked massive, silhouetted against the starry sky. I looked more carefully. It had massive horns, thick ribs through its nose, and was pawing at the ground with one of its forelegs. I've never moved so fast in my life. I would not have imagined it possible to exit a zipped-up sleeping bag in such a brief instant. I made it behind the trunk of the oak tree just as the bull charged. It lunged at me from one side of the tree and then the other, but thankfully I'd camped beneath the tree with the broadest trunk. It tried to chase me around the tree, but by shimmying around the oak, pressed close to the wood, I was able to circuit the tree quicker than the beast. The bull was getting frustrated. It stood facing me, huge and black, its forelegs splayed a little, snorting great clouds of steam from its nostrils. With a flick of its head, it tossed my sleeping bag into the air and left it hanging suspended from an overhead branch. I managed to get one of the arm straps of my pack looped around a horn, and this drove it into a frenzy. It ran around in circles, shaking its head and sending the contents of the bag scattering in all directions. Seeing my chance while it was distracted, I made a run for it and vaulted over the fence. Though I was relieved to be out on the road with a barbed wire fence between me and the bull, my problems were not over yet. I still had to recover my belongings, including my clothes. It had been a mild night and I'd stripped down to just my boxer shorts. I was alive to the ridiculousness of my situation. Less than a year before, I'd been travelling alone in Africa, camping, wild and tentless. I'd learned to keep a little campfire burning through the night to deter the leopards and hyenas. I'd learned to wrap any food I was carrying in layer upon layer of plastic and suspend it with string from the branch of a nearby tree. And I'd learned never, ever to take oranges anywhere that there might be an elephant. Yet, as it turned out, my closest ever encounter with a dangerous animal would be here in a farmer's field in Dumbartonshire. So, I stood and watched and waited as the furious bull gored the stuffing out of the mattress. It began to rain, a persistent drizzle rather than the heavy shower. I would have been all right under my tree. I saw a car approaching, the beam of its headlights piercing through the raindrops. The driver didn't stop. Under the circumstances, I don't suppose I'd have stopped either. The middle of the night, the middle of the countryside, a man standing in the rain naked.